Hi Gina.
Hey Oni, hi everyone. I'm Gina, the senior editor of Polyester.
And I'm Ione, the founding editor-in-chief of Polyester, and this is the Polyester Podcast, a feminist pop culture podcast dissecting the discourse on a weekly basis.
Before we start, if you're a fan of this podcast, please make sure to like, rate, subscribe and review. And if you really love us, you can sign up for a podcast membership where you can join our WhatsApp chat, get access to our research each week, and get on our Instagram close friends for only £3 a month. We also now have a Substack called Non-Threatening Boys Asterix, where we will be sharing exclusive content each week on the Boy of the Hour. Do you have any reviews, Ione?
We do. 5 stars, the only good thing about Mondays. Always start my week with this podcast. Love it. The hosts have a great... Always start my week with this podcast. What? Always start my week with this podcast. Love it. The hosts have a great dynamic and they always bring super interesting perspectives on current pop culture trends and topics. Literally how I know anything about what's going on right now. Stop it. Literally how I know about anything that's going on right now. Thank you, guys. That is by Zit Shagan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. I don't think it was you.
It was you.
It was you.
I just said thank you. You said laughing.
No, because you went thank you.
I was going to say thank you, Sid. I was like, I can't say that.
And on Spotify, we have Millie SK. Great app as always. Particularly enjoyed the last few minutes. Tear those losers down.
Thank you, Millie.
And then we have Esther. Has everyone but us lost the plot?
I do think so, yeah.
Maybe we have as well. And talking of losing the plot, what are we doing today, Gina?
We're recording our podcast.
What's the topic?
The topic is the incredibly controversial Bianca Censori.
And who is she?
She's Kanye West's wife, also an architect from Australia, and she has worked at Yeezy since 2020.
Isn't it mad that 2020 was 5 years ago?
Don't tell me about it.
But anyway, so Bianca has been in the headlines pretty consistently since she married Kanye West. But there's been like a recent kind of flurry of press coverage that began with when Kanye and Bianca went to the Grammys and Bianca wore nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing at all.
No, she wore a Kanye West Yeezy brand slip.
Yeah, but it was
mesh
like a
illusion,
sheer...
naked illusion, mesh.
It wasn't an illusion though,
dress.
because there was nothing to be alluded to. It was just sheer. You could see her boobs and her fanny.
Her boobs and her fanny.
And her fanny.
Her fanny and her boobs.
Yeah, fanny and her boobs.
Yeah, so she wore this naked dress, but before that she was wearing this big black feather fur coat. So her and Kanye turned up to the red carpet. Kanye's wearing all black outfit, ensemble, and then Bianca's wearing this big black fur coat. She turns round to like do the like over the shoulder pose. Mm-hmm. Look over the shoulder pose, look very glamorous. Mm-hmm. Kanye whispers something to her. She drops the coat. She is seemingly bolloco.
Yeah.
She turns around, more bolloco than ever, tits and arse out.
Yeah.
And fanny. And then they get the pictures, they go into the Grammys and then allegedly get kicked out. They've said that they left.
And then other people have said they've been kicked out. So there's that.
Yeah, there's that.
And then Kanye got on Twitter and did a massive anti-Semitic rant. And also, he went on an anti-Semitic rant. He also defended P. Diddy.
Yeah, of course he does.
And in the rant was also saying, like, oh, why do you think that my wife doesn't love doing this? Like, clearly she loves it. I can't say the word.
Dominion
over her, but she loves it. She's got an IQ of a zillion. I don't even know what IQ means. And also, isn't it like eugenicist or whatever? Didn't we talk about this?
It's a eugenicist, be loads of shite.
Yeah.
You can't judge a fish on its ability to ride a bicycle.
Tell him.
Thank you.
So she got really high IQ, supposedly has a master's degree from the University of Melbourne.
Well, that's not supposedly, she does.
No, it is supposedly, because apparently she dropped out to go work for Kanye. It says it in the research.
Oh, I thought she genuinely... I went on LinkedIn and it says she's got it.
Well, apparently she dropped out to go work for Kanye.
Do you know loads of like AI gimps have like been on her LinkedIn and like, you know, you can say that someone's good at like Adobe Express or whatever.
Recommended her for what?
Like being good at at something to do with her job.
Why?
Because they're clout chasing. They want people who go on Bianca Censori's profile
To be like, this
this person knows her. Yeah,
right.
They worked with her.
So her and Kanye have been together for 3 years, married. Well, also, this is the thing. So there's loads of secrecy around Bianca. She's never been known to speak in public. So apparently someone found a video of her speaking. It then got scrubbed. And a lot of her previous press has been scrubbed as well. So she did like an interview for Hypebeast that got scrubbed. That was about like her upbringing and all of this stuff. And she's never like really spoken in public. The kind of only line of access we have to her is like through these paparazzi pictures of her and Kanye in which she's wearing like less and less clothes, or like has got body parts out in various ways. Like one time she went out also I was reading the research and it was like she went out in a see-through raincoat, and I was like, oh, like a trench coat. I looked on it, it's like a poncho that you get at Disneyland when you don't want to get wet on Splash Mountain.
Yeah, stamped with like some black paint on it. The copying as well in the article is like she very deftly held her phone to cover her vagina.
And then a lot of people are also making comparisons to the fact that she's wearing no clothes while Kanye basically looks like a scruff. Like, he's got facial hair at the moment, he's just wearing like a hoodie and like really ugly jogging bottoms. He just looks quite scruffy.
Yeah, or he's wearing those like super villain outfits where he's got like a mask on.
Yeah, and like latex gloves, like big red latex fisting gloves.
Big scary outfit.
Yeah, like serial killer vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's just been in outer space and had to like grab a star or something.
But yet again, I feel like Bianca Censori has kind of become this like projection for like people to project their ideas onto about like whether she's enjoying it or whether she's not enjoying it, whether it's a sign of like coercive abuse, whether it's a sign that Kanye is abusing her, whether it's a sign that like she needs help, she needs saving, or whether she's empowered. Like, I remember when they first got together, there was a lot of chat about how basically it was like, oh, Kanye's basically like enacting all of the behaviour that he wants to do on Kim for divorcing him on Bianca because she looks like him.
Yeah, the worst thing that ever happened to the culture is everyone learning the words humiliation ritual.
Yeah.
Because people just say it about fucking anything now.
And so, after the Grammy thing, there was a lot of tweets basically, which I just feel like you can talk about the fact that she was naked on a red carpet and talk about like what that means for the culture, what that means for whatever, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's objectifying, obviously, whether it's this, that, or the other. But I feel like when you talk about it as abuse or not abuse, it becomes like a bit complicated because you're taking away, like by assuming that, you're taking away her like right to have opinions about it herself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think people are just it is just projection. Like that's the word of the fucking whole situation, because she is pointedly not saying anything in public. And I think it's interesting that a lot of people in our research are saying like she isn't given a voice and that Kanye's taken it from her, but that also removes her agency as being someone who's not choosing not to do that. And then people were comparing it to loads of different like artworks where people have done similar things. And there's someone who's like an architect and has like said in previous interviews that someone dug up that she's really interested in art, and architecture was like her like output for being an artist. Her to then team up with Kanye, who always calls himself an artist. Like for people to just be like automatically connect the dots that she's not allowed to speak versus that she's choosing not to is just kind of like weird to me.
Yeah, well, I think it's obviously purposeful, the fact that she's not speaking, and we don't know the reason for that either. And maybe it is by design, or maybe it's by coincidence that it lets everyone have an opinion on it. But I think the response to her says more about the culture than her.
Yeah, I think like what she's doing, it's the same as the body blue stuff though, like you were saying to me earlier before we recorded. Like people are just using this thing that kind of isn't being given a morality by the person doing it.
Well, if it's being given a morality by anyone, it's by Kanye, I guess. So then you can say like he is openly saying he's controlling her. But then also something that really worried me in the research, you finish your point first, sorry.
No, go on.
Something that really bothered me in the research was that it was basically, I don't think I highlighted it, but it's basically outlining all of these times that Kanye actually has been accused of abuse or like proven to be abusive. Like when he showed porn to like the Adidas exec board, and like his assistant has come out and said that he was abusive. Like lots of people have like actually accused Kanye of abuse, but instead of like openly being like that's an abusive man. And I would say that like, you know, Kanye is pretty much like cast out from popular culture. Like no one thinks he's good or agrees with him. But also when it comes to like his treatment of women or his treatment of people, well, yeah, women and the relationships he's in, people are instead trying to jump hoops, being like he controlled Kim and now he's controlling Bianca, instead of being like, oh, he's actually got X and Y allegations out.
Yeah, that's so true. I think, like, let me read them out because they're actually foul. Because, no, I won't read them out because they're actually foul.
TW.
There's one that that really stood out to me in that list, and the list is in the article in The Guardian by Moira Donegan, and it's called "The Exposure of Bianca Censori's Body is Contrasted with the Enigma of Her Mind," and which is kind of like very projectory, a lot of the article, I will say. But this bit, the list like you're referring to, that really stood out to me was, what I'm quoting now, a model for a music video that Kanye worked on says that he strangled her and shoved his fingers in her mouth during a music video shoot at New York City's Chelsea Hotel in 2010, allegedly yelling, "This is art, this is fucking art," during the attack. And I thought that was really interesting because the other articles are trying to like
say
justify,
that
they're trying
art.
to justify that Bianca's doing performance art and cast like this is why she's doing it and like trying to justify it in that way. And then on the other side of the coin, we've got Kanye trying to justify his abuse by calling it art.
But then also it's like, I saw this tweet that was like more explicit than how I'm saying it, but the crux of it was, it's like, you'll never believe an abuse victim until it's too late to believe them because they're dead. And like, it's the same sentiment, like you won't believe abuse victims when they're actually saying they're abuse victims. You'll only believe them when you can project an idea of like what their behaviour means onto them.
Or even if you know who the person was that said it. Because like so many times like celebrities will come forward and say like this person abused me, and then it becomes a big conversation. Like we're seeing really recently with Kevin Spacey and the Guy Pearce conversation this week. But these women are anonymous or people who just aren't famous, so people aren't using that as like a thing. They're like more easily comparing Bianca to Kim and Julia than these women who have actually undergone Kanye doing these things to them.
Yeah, so some of the tweets. So Kathy Griffin did a video, I haven't heard that name in years, saying, when they were in Italy and he had her drop to her knees and give him a service, and we saw his bare butt knowing there were paparazzi photographers all the way around, that just reeks of abuse. And then Victoria at Vit2 Snock, Kanye West is a narcissistic, abusive piece of shit hiding behind mental illness. He stripped his wife of all clothes and self-respect. She's nothing but a puppet. And meanwhile, he's, of course, always fully clothed. This isn't art, it's abuse. At what point is enough enough? And then another one, Gene Hatcher, at Gene Hatcher. This is abusive male behaviour. Kanye West has a territorial arm around a woman he is displaying naked to humiliate. Don't tell me she wants this. Autonomy, empowerment, that's bullshit. Her naked body has to be covered by the media because she can't and he doesn't want to. And then Jules Denby, it's not art, Kanye, you piece of shit. It's coercive humiliation training. It's abuse. He's an abuser. And I don't give a shit. Sorry, it was DGAS. I was like, what does that mean? I don't give a shit what anyone thinks of that. I know it when I see it. And then Anna has questions. Kanye West should be arrested. I'm not going to post the full pics of Bianca Censori. No one should help him abuse her even more. The lights are gone from her eyes. Physically, she is there. Mentally, shut down, closed off and detached. She needs help. And it's kind of like what we were saying in the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni episode, where it's like the lip readers and like TikTok body language experts and all of these people. It's like, it's the next logical step of therapy speak, where we all think we're an expert on what all of these like types of abuse or like all of these human behaviors look like. And it's understandable that if you see those images of Bianca naked on a red carpet, you feel like outraged, you feel that she's being objectified, you feel all of these things, because that is all true for you. But you can't make an assumption on what she feels. And I'm not saying she feels either way, but I don't think it does anything for like abuse victims to like say that she's being abused. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't help anyone.
No, not at all. And I think that it really does. It wouldn't even help her. Like,
No, exactly.
If I saw that and I was her, I'd be like, well, this is shit, everyone knows.
Well, the thing is, like, the first thing a person does, like, if they're with an abuse, not the first thing, but obviously it's such a pattern of behaviour, and all these people are saying that Kanye's coercive controlling her. Well, an abuser will try and isolate the person they're abusing from everyone else. So, like, what does your pity get her? Nothing. Like, what does you pointing at her and saying, oh, you're, like, a poor abused woman get her? Nothing. Like, none of it's actually constructive.
No, and it's such, like, a fucking go-to sentence, isn't it, online, to be like, why is no one talking about this?
Everyone's talking about it.
A, everyone's talking about it. B, what does talking about it actually get us?
And I do think we're obscuring, like, facts in favour of the narrative that runs through his exes, which we will come to after the break.
We're back from the break.
We are back from the break. Yeah, so a lot of people are basically pulling up the fact that Kim was very open about the fact that Kanye dressed her and, like, chose her clothes, chose her outfits, and basically, like, fashioned her into this kind of style icon that we know today. Like, before Kanye, I'm sure lots of listeners know this, but in case anyone doesn't, no one in fashion took Kim seriously. He courted high fashion brands, which is something like a lot of celebrity stylists do as well for their clients, until she was, like, getting campaigns. He basically was, like, her creative director or whatever, and it wasn't necessarily, like, again, as, like, a voyeur of the Kardashians show or of how they speak, you could, like, infer that it wasn't necessarily the healthiest. Like, Kim would say things like, oh, I can't believe I went out in, like, an unapproved outfit, blah 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 blah. And it's not to diminish, like, people that experience these things and actually consider them abuse, but what I am saying is we're constructing a narrative based on things that aren't necessarily facts, because, like, everyone will also be like, the Kardashians is a narrative, but then take it all. And I'm not saying it's not true, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it kind of, when you bring Julia Fox into it as well, and she was like, oh, I felt like a Disney princess, like, I went into that hotel room and he had racks and racks of clothing for me.
What did she say about it in her book?
I've not read a book.
Oh, I thought you had. Well, it's obvious that Kanye is a piece of shit that has strange relationships to women.
Yeah, undeniably.
But again, I don't think it's helpful to ignore, like, the facts in which he actually has abused women in favour of fantasy, in that what he's doing with his wife, it, like, what we see of his relationships with women is, like, this abuse, like, this constructed narrative that we've made up in our heads, basically. And another thing that made me think this is really interesting is one of the articles were basically like, well, he's not actually styling Bianca, and they found Bianca's stylist, who's a guy called Gadir Rajab. I probably haven't said that right, and I'm sorry. And if you go on his Instagram, this person's like a designer and a stylist, and they're basically having the, like, stylist / muse relationship that everyone says Bianca has with Kanye. Like, he's posting all these pics of her. One for her birthday, it's Dirty 30 Flirty, in which she's wearing, like, a classic outfit for her. Like, his pinned post is, like, a video of her, like, walking around in a body stocking. Never enough Biancas. It goes on and on. Like, there's literal pages of it. But it's just, like, so convenient that the first time I've heard of him, this stylist, is today. 20 articles deep.
Well, I think Kim always had stylists as well. Like, it wasn't just Kanye. And I think to go back to what you were saying...
Well, yeah, I don't think Kanye's doing, like, the grunt work of, like, calling round places to pull pieces for her.
I think it's really telling as well that people are projecting this narrative onto his wives or girlfriends, when historically, from the actual evidence we've got, he's been abusive to women who are his assistants, women who are hired to be in music videos with him, people who are on the payroll, basically. And I guess you could argue that Julia was paid to be his girlfriend. You could argue that Bianca worked for him before they got married. But in reality, there's such a huge difference between being someone who's hired to be someone's assistant to being someone who's hired to be the head of architecture, their fashion brand. I also think what this conversation is really making me think about is the complicity of the press and the complicity of all of us in sharing these things. Like, Kanye's aftershock factor, he wants those TMZ headlines. He wants everyone to be going on Twitter being like, is he abusing her or not? He's going on Twitter himself to be like, to stir up more of this debate. Like, he's not ashamed to be called an abuser. He's very flagrant about it. His end goal very clearly is to get attention. And what's happening is that he's just getting it. And I do think, like, and I've said this before, you've said this before, the only way that he would stop getting it is if he was deplatformed. And I don't just mean like having his accounts deleted on social media. I think like the tabloid press really needs to like ostracize this man. Like, he's been removed from high fashion for years. Like, he's been taken out of those conversations. And that was only after like he fully went full hog in like 2022, whenever it was, that he was like for the first time being really, really openly anti-Semitic on social media and lost the Adidas campaign and everything like that. I think that it needs to happen again now, where the tabloids are like, we don't even want to take pictures of you. Because if he got deplatformed in that way, he wouldn't be doing that. He'd find something else to be fucking, to get attention with.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think attention is basically the only economy that he has now. Like, he's lost all his brand deals. He's lost like the majority of ways in which he can like decimate information. Like, he's banned and unbanned from every social media platform all the time. No one listens to his new music. Like, he used to be like a agenda setting culture maker, and now he's like never been more irrelevant. And so he is using these like tabloid tactics basically to just feed his own ego of relevancy, and he's using his wife to do that, undoubtedly, because like if Kanye was just walking around LA in his clothes, he would not be getting papped.
Yeah, and it made me scream because loads of tweets were like, why doesn't he just get his hog out? He wants the attention so much, why doesn't he get the hog out? Because he gets a double whammy. He gets to be seen with a beautiful naked woman.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, a lot of it is about status and power and all of these things. And like, even him saying like, I have power over my wife. It's like, he wants to be seen as this powerful figure, like a genius that's also extremely powerful and clever and like can get any woman that he wants. And he's just pushing that to an extreme. And I also thought it was really interesting, but this is just like a bit of an aside, how in one of the articles it basically says like, it's the fact we see it in paparazzi shots why it's shocking. Like, if, for example, she was wearing these outfits just for Instagram photos, which is how we see it on this stylist's Instagram, that's just like imagery that we're used to seeing now in culture. Like, we're used to seeing one of like, so her birthday outfit is basically like a tit tape bodysuit. So there's like 2 straps going down her bra and then like what look like cycling shorts made out of tit tape. That's like something it's very like Jodie Marsh from the early noughties vibe. Yeah. But also we're just so used to seeing it on Instagram. Like, people dress like that. Kim dresses like that. Like, women do dress like that on Instagram. But it's kind of like how we've talked about before, is that there's 2 modes of dressing now. Like, there's dressing for the internet and outfits that you wear and put online but don't necessarily wear out. And it's kind of like she's breaking that 4th wall almost. Like, she's breaking that reality by just like going out as naked as a lot of people wouldn't go out in. They just do it for the Instagram picture. Also, like, you do see people dress like how Bianca dresses, because from looking at the stylist Instagram, it's like, yeah, very rooted in like fetish wear and like club wear and like raving attire. I don't know why I said attire.
Raving attire.
But do you know what I mean? Like, it's very like, there's like a lexicon for it in high fashion and in subculture, and it doesn't not exist. But it's obviously because she and he are on such a mainstream platform, and these clothes are meant to be shocking. They're meant to be subversive, even when they're worn in a club. But seeing them on a red carpet, obviously, or just like in the street, takes that to another level.
I think if she was wearing a necklace and had a clutch bag, it would be a different story as well.
What do you mean?
Like when Rose McGowan wore like that dress, it was styled purposefully, whereas like the bareness of this is what shocks people.
Yeah, people compare it to the Rihanna CFDA award outfit as well, where it's like the flapper inspired outfit.
Yeah, there's a really good quote on it that sums it up in The New Yorker in a piece called The Mute Spectacle of Bianca Censori by Naomi Fry. And I thought it just like summed it up so well. And she says, most expressions of public dishabille, traffic and titillation. Dishabille?
Say it again, yeah.
No, how do you pronounce that?
I can't see.
Dishabille.
I don't know.
Disabled? I'm going to say nudity. Most expressions of public nudity, traffic and titillation in the playful manner of a striptease. Censori's nakedness has a bluntness to it that has less to do with sexiness and more to do with calculated shock. If part of our fascination with celebrities hinges on the tension between their visibility and their unknowability, Censori, in her way, is pushing that tension to the limit, as if to say, here I am, entirely available to the gaze, and yet somehow still entirely enigmatic.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't work if she was speaking all the time.
No, like, not at all. Like, if people would just be able to be like, oh, this is her personality, that's how... And on any end of the spectrum, people would be like, oh, she's so funny and cute, this is her personality, she dresses naked. Or if she was like completely stern and scary, you'd be like, oh, she's so stern and scary, it's her personality, she dresses naked. It's because people don't have like that like level of being able to like personify it. Yeah, humanize her. And I think like there's also something to be said about the way that porn has shifted now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like to be a porn star, you kind of have to be an influencer and have like that personality attached to it. Even if like you're someone like Bonnie Blue who's caught in controversy, porn stars used to be like anonymous, like they had like fake names, they would be known in their industry for sure, or like people who were fans of them would know them for sure. But now it's like it's a whole different thing, whereas like your nudity that you're selling has to be linked to like a personality that also has like a dressed Instagram account as well as the like horny one. And I think that it's like that's why Bianca is so shocking, because we haven't had that for a long time, like that naked unspokenness. But that's not to say that that's why it's jarring. I think it's just interesting.
Well, then I think it's also, yeah, A, it lets people project things onto her, but then B, it's like because the facts that we do have about her are that she's an architect, she's intelligent, she has a master's degree, IQ of whatever, and like it wouldn't work from like a classism perspective if she was poor, because people expect poor people to like dress and act in like a not classy way or whatever.
Yeah, to be little trash bags.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like she's defying stereotype or expectation or whatever, which makes people more interested. Like the Jodie Marsh is a great example. Like when Jodie Marsh was on, I just said my own example was great, but like as in it's a comparison. Like when she was on the red carpets wearing just a belt or whatever, everyone was just like, oh, she's a piece of shit. Like,
yeah, there goes Jodie's fucking slag. Jodie fucking slag.
Yeah, exactly. Katie Price, all of these people.
But no one's going to say that about her because of her association with a celebrity, which is like a celebrity of high class, because Kanye used to be a culture maker. And then also because she comes from a wealthy background, like she went to private school in...
Oh, no, but yeah. But you know, it's apparently because her family were the Australian mob.
Right, okay. Yeah, no, I did.
Her uncle's like the biggest Australian mobster, and then her dad is as well.
Yeah, it's like Melbourne's.
And then right at the end of the research, it's like, oh, her dad's concerned for her and wants to like come to America to like have a chat about how she's portraying herself since her marriage to Kanye. It's like, what? The mobster's coming over.
Tell you off.
Yeah, to tell you off. Cool.
Horse in the bed. I don't know. I think it's just a conversation with so much nuance to it, isn't it? Like,
but no, exactly. That's like a fact that's been hidden again.
Yeah.
Like we've read 40 pages of research and you didn't even pick up on that bit of it.
What bit of it?
That as in it's not a fault of yours that her family were in the mob.
Yeah.
Like it's concealed.
Yeah, I know. Everything about her is concealed. That's the point. Like people are being like, I don't know.
Go on. Everything about her is concealed apart from her body.
Exactly. It's like an inverse of how we all use social media and everything. You will never see my tits again. You know so much about me.
And with that, we'll bid you adieu. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, Ione.
Thank you to Siham for the research and Charlotte for sound teching and Olivia for editing and you all for listening.
Thank you to our members for subscribing as well.
We love you.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.